Kris Oziofu Eku Afe Ero is a trained stress mastery expert and holistic coach who works on a workplace wellness consultant via her company, the Wellness Boss Company Limited. She caters to corporate clients by offering bespoke wellness solutions as well as facilitating stress workshops. Now, with a background in corporate communications and brand management and having worked in several capacities in the media space, Kris discovered wellness when she developed Amnesia due to her lifestyle choices. With a strong emphasis on the mind and the immense benefits of stress, Kris now dedicates her time to educating others about the dangers in not boosting their well-being holistically so they can thrive. Kris has now published and presented her new book, Rhythm of Resilience, to the public. She now joins us to talk through this with her audience and what people should expect when they read this particular book and the inspiration behind it. I want to say thank you very much, Kris, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes, I must say. Lovely cover, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
There's a story behind the cover.
Okay. Or maybe we'll start from there.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, if you see the subheading says Conquering Amnesia, Embracing Chaos, and Mastering Stress.
Yes.
Amnesia is synonymous with nothingness, with emptiness. So if you notice, the first part of the picture, there's a bit of emptiness there. And then you see the face coming together, but it's still not yet defined. So that's the chaos, trying to embrace the chaos. And then when you see the fully defined face, you see mastering stress. So at this point, you've mastered stress. But with the halo, the fiery halo around the face shows that we're still living in an unpredictable world. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of it, you can actually master,
stress.
Yeah, or whatever challenge you're going through.
Okay.
All right. What motivated you to write this book, and what are the underlying factors? As we, was running that intro, you also developed Amnesia.
Yes.
Due to lifestyle choices.
Yes.
How come?
Yeah, my relationship with stress, basically, we all, life is filled with stress, right? And the fundamental mentality that we have regarding stress is it's bad for you, you don't need it, right? But as at the time I was going through this, I really didn't even understand what stress was. I didn't even understand what it meant to have mental health issues or whatever, or how to take better care of yourself. My own thinking was if you're ill, that means you're on admission somewhere or you're on like a routine of medications. But I wasn't on all that. And I felt very well. I felt very healthy. When I talk about my lifestyle, I wasn't treating myself right. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't sleeping right. I wasn't doing the right things, And when I have complaints like headaches, my go-to would be like a soda drink. I'd never think of resting. I never rested. I didn't think rest was something I needed to do because I was very active, and then, but the thing was that my body was sending me signals, have all those flashing lights, constant fatigue, but I didn't understand them, right? So it got to a point, it accumulated to a point where my body had to shut down. And that was what led to all this. By the time I woke up, I went into a coma. And by the time I woke up, my memory was gone, and I lived like that for 2 years. Oh. So when I gained my memory, that was when I delved into this because I needed to understand what happened to me, what led me through all that darkness. And I realized that, stress came out really hard. And when I started studying it and really applying the tenets of stress management into my life, I noticed that what I was practicing wasn't really working. I was still living with the stress. I was still living with the effects of chronic stress. And I saw it happening around with everybody, we all know that younger people these days are, succumbing to stress. You have high blood pressure, like hypertension is a very common, situation right now. High blood pressure, cardiac arrest, strokes, and what have you. So in the course of my work, I realized that there's so much more that needs to be done regarding this in terms of exposure, in terms of proper enlightenment. And one of the key things that struck out for me was the way we have been dealing with stress has been wrong because the premise has been wrong. The thinking that stress is bad and stress is negative and you have to avoid it or run away from it, that is wrong. And that is actually what fuels, further stress, leading us to experiencing chronic stress, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was what brought about this book, because I needed to help people, you know. The book is packaged in lessons. You know, where you have chapters, but this doesn't have chapters. It comes in lessons. Very key, very vital, and very practical lessons that no matter what situation you're going through, no matter what the challenge is, it could be health related, it could be financial related, it could be relationship related, whatever it is, you know, this book seeks to tackle that.
All right.
All right, I would like to find it from you.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the book probably addresses this, because easier said than done, some would say.
Yes.
The whole work-life balance. And also putting it into context, the times in which we live in,
Yeah.
where people are more stressed because they need to make ends meet. Because if they do not do that,
so
another
things don't
level of
suffer.
stress will come in
Exactly.
when your bills and when your needs literally are staring you in the face and almost trying to wear you down. Does this book address all that and how people can probably navigate that? Because I'm sure you found yourself there, because usually when you hit the rat race and when you are in the mill and just running through things, you do not want to stop, because you know that you have a target and you want to meet that particular target.
Yeah.
Then unfortunately, when people actually crumble in the sojourn, they now begin to pay attention to the little angles of life that probably they actually ignore. So how does this book address that, and how do you address it for people realistically? Because people go through this.
People go through it a lot. First of all, I'd like to say that there's nothing like work-life balance. It doesn't exist, because when you're talking about balance, what you're trying to connote is that you can give 50% or 100% to whatever, to your work and to your life at the same time. So what we strive for is work-life integration.
Okay.
How do you integrate your life with your work in such a way that nothing suffers? Most importantly, that you don't suffer, which is your well-being. So I think part of the problem we have is the mindset that we can be supermen or we can be superwomen, and that is what kills us. We think we can do everything because, I mean, we believe we can. But what we try to tell people is, first of all, you have to slow down. You have to learn to slow down. And what is your goal? What is that thing that drives you? What's your passion, right? What's your purpose? But most importantly, you are the central player in the midst of all these things. I tell people that no matter how hard you work, right? If you drop down today, wherever you're working, life would continue.
No, but it's a case of damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because the stigma that comes from not exerting yourself, which some people, you would be able to relate to this.
Yeah.
Some people would term it as laziness and being very reclusive. How do you handle that? Because
you can't, the thing is with life, stress is bound to happen to you.
True.
Nobody is saying that, hey, relax and do nothing. It's about while you're doing it, how are you doing it? How are you applying yourself?
Okay.
Most of the pressure we put on ourselves are mostly unnecessary. For instance, we have a lot of us who claim that we work well under pressure. Right? It's totally unnecessary. We have those who procrastinate a lot. You know, we have those who multitask. You know, those who can't delegate. So those are the things that you look at, right? Look at your lifestyle. That's where the lifestyle comes in. Look at your lifestyle. And why are you unable to delegate, for instance? Why are you unable to focus on proper time management? Because those are the key. By the time you realize that, and you also figure out that your well-being, especially your mental health, is very important. I mean, if you look at it, how else do you think we get frustrated, or, you know, we develop some form of dependence on certain substances or certain activities? Is because we have not been able to develop our inner core. We've not been able to master certain things. So we become victims to whatever it is that we are depending on, because that's what it is. You know, if you are depending on energy drinks, for instance, before you muster the will to do what you need to do, you've become a victim because you don't own yourself anymore. And the funny thing is that all those things you depend on have a contrary, they play a, how do I put it, like a destructive role in your well-being. So one of the things we talk about in this book is, first of all, admit to yourself that you're not a victim, right? Another thing is also recognize that life happens. In the midst of life happening, you as the central player, how are you holding up? Haven't you seen people where it doesn't matter what's going on, right? They just calm. They just calm.
Yeah.
The world can be going crazy, but in the midst of the craziness, they are calm because they've come to a point of realization where, hey, I know the thing I can change. I know the thing I have control of, and I know the things, that I have no control over. And the most important person, or the only thing that we can control is us, really, our reactions and our responses to issues and challenges. So that's why we say, first of all, there's nothing like work-life balance. Because when you believe there's work-life balance, you are striving towards a goal that is unattainable, which is the same thing as saying, hey, let's run away from stress. Let's reduce stress. I don't want stress in my life. But, a stressless life is a lifeless life.
All right, Kris, if I may take you up to from where you left off. As part of the moniker in that book, when you say embracing chaos, does it mean taking charge of the issue headlong? So what are the narratives here?
When I say embracing chaos is figuring out that in the midst of life, the uncertainty that I'm talking about, accepting it for what it is, that's how you embrace it. It's only when you embrace it that you can actually master it, that you can actually understand what the chaos is doing in your life. For instance, let me even talk about the same stress, right? Which we say we are running away from stress. Stress is chaotic. We want to run away from it. What it does is it reduces your ability to think outside the box regarding how do I get myself out of here? What is this supposed to teach me? What are the solutions I'm supposed to get out of this, right? So we keep running away and we are not tackling the issue, right? Because we do not want chaos. So we sweep things under the rug. But the thing is, for as much as you sweep under the rug, the day is going to come, you have to confront it, right? And when you do confront it, do you have the skills to deal with it? So embracing chaos doesn't mean that, hey, I'm welcoming chaos or I'm going out looking for chaos. What it means is where I'm at today, if chaos comes to me, am I mentally equipped, to handle it? Have I built structures, enabling structures to help me embrace it in such a way that I can master it?
All right, so since you released this book, the question is, how's the reception been like? And how have people responded to
the book?
To the book itself.
Okay, the book is not yet released to the public. It's going to be released on the 7th of April. Right. So we're having a book launch on the 7th. But you know how it is. We've gotten people who have read the book, right? And the reviews have been mind-blowing, if I have to say so. And I think the key thing I get to hear from them is how relatable the book is and how it really speaks to them at different points, of life that they're at. So with this book, I had to put some aspects of me in it just to create that relatability, to let you know that, hey, whatever it is you think you're going through, you're not alone. Yeah. Somebody else has gone through it and has been able to come out the other side okay, so there's hope for you. Because one of the major challenges is people find that they seem quite hopeless. A lot of them give up. There's nothing I can do about this. And especially now, this economic situation that we're in, right? And you find that it's affecting so many different aspects of their lives, because there's no money, it's affecting probably how you eat, it's affecting your relationships, it's affecting your social life. So there's like a holistic angle to it, So we're saying that with this now, where you're going through the undulating phases of life, you can actually build that resilience that you need to keep moving forward so you don't give up.
Some positive and optimistic thoughts there. But let's look at the choice of former President Obasanjo forward in this book. So how did that
happen? It was, how do I put it now? I think I took a leap of faith. You know how they say to shoot your shot? So that was what happened with me. And for me, it was really important to have him, very strategic, because of what he embodies in terms of, he's a very healthy fellow. Permit me to say for his age, he's very healthy, very agile. And he speaks a lot about the importance of, taking care of yourself and all that. And for someone who has been a president, we know how tumultuous Nigeria can be to govern. For someone who has been president twice over, right? He's got some resilience in him. He's gone through stuff and he's come out the other way. And he's, so I felt that he would have that presence of mind to really go through this and really appreciate, what it took to put this down.
Very good.
All right. I was still talking. How you mentioned something very key, your personal story about amnesia.
Yeah.
So how does this book help people that find themselves there? Because I must say that it's completely strange to me. I've read about it. I've not really...
You read about amnesia, right?
Amnesia, because you've seen it in movies and the rest of them. I've not really met
someone who's gone through it.
that has actually gone through amnesia.
Oh yeah, for 2 years. For 2 years, I lived that way. And when I say amnesia, I'm not talking about maybe some parts of my life but like total amnesia, total blackout, right? The turning point for me was when I stopped fighting it. When I stopped fighting it. Initially, I hated the life. I hated the fact that I couldn't remember anything. I hated the fact that I was depending on
including
people.
Loved ones and
I couldn't
family.
remember anyone. I had to learn life all over again. So I had to depend on them to tell me about me. And I was very suspicious of them and very paranoid because I didn't trust them. I was like, why would this be happening to me and not you guys, So I was constantly fighting it. I hated it. I wanted to end it all, I was very suicidal. I was very depressed, But when the shift for me, again, as I said, was when I decided that, hey, I can't change it. If this is going to be my life, this is going to be my life. But if it's going to be my life, I might as well make the most of it. Because the beautiful thing was I couldn't remember the past, but I could make and retain fresh memories, new memories. So I was like, okay, let me work on that. Let me focus on making beautiful memories. And I started focusing on that, and I started becoming more grateful, even though I couldn't recognize the people in my life per se. I didn't have history with them. But I appreciated them because, hey, these are the people that have been told to me are my people. So let me hold on to them. And then bit by bit, I think that was the shift. I think my memory needed a safe space for it to come back out because I stopped fighting. And I see that happening with a lot of us. We keep fighting and fighting. Situations that you really can't change. We see that happening in our workplaces. You're fighting your boss, you're fighting policies. Do you have the power to change the policies? No. But what you're doing is you're constantly putting yourself in some form of will where, you're breeding animosity, you're breeding toxicity, and it is coming back to you, affecting your mental health, affecting your physical health as well. So we say, hey, recognize what you can't change, but you can change you. So how do you change your mind space? How do you change your mentality? Even in terms of the food we eat, So one of the things I also say here is that it's not even about your food because we focus on the wrong things when it comes to what is responsible for your issue. Take ownership. Take ownership. And that's something that we humans are not really used to doing. We are used to blaming someone else. It's either this or it's either that, but it's never me. But the book is saying that, hey, you have to learn. If you want to move, if you want to grow, if you want to thrive, if you want to become resilient, you have to take ownership of your life. You have to take agency of your life. These things only control you when you give them that power.
All right. I was thinking, while you were, researching to write this book, how would you describe the prevalent rate, especially among younger people, the youth, and of course, of your category as well, regarding the issue of amnesia? Because like Aaron was saying that he has actually never met someone who was, but it doesn't actually show, but you find out that there are people out there with the same ailment, but we don't know much about it.
Yeah, it's pretty dicey really because except someone tells you, you wouldn't know that this person is going through this. So what is mostly common when it comes to issues regarding memory is dementia. When it comes to the elderly people, you can tell, like, okay, my grandpa can't remember this, my grandmom can't remember this. But it doesn't occur to you that a young person would be living with amnesia. And most people, especially in my own case, I wasn't carrying it around because I didn't want to be pitied and I didn't want to feel like a freak, so I wasn't really announcing it. So you wouldn't know until I come to you and say, hey, or probably you ask me 1 or 2 questions and I'm looking lost. For instance, you ask me something that is very common to know, who is your president? And I'm like, and then I have to ask someone, something like that. So it's not really a common thing, but it's something that's very possible that can happen. And mine happened as a result of hypertension. hypertension that was fueled by my lifestyle choices.
Okay.
So a lot of us are living lives that don't do us any good. There's no holistic approach to our living. You know, at the beginning when we started, you're talking about, you know, everybody is in the rat race. We're in the rat race. We're trying to be successful. Yeah. We're trying to do that. But then we forget that there are different aspects to us. So we focus on just the financial aspect or the occupational aspect. And we forget that, hey, there's a spiritual aspect as well. There's your relationship aspect as well. And there's your physical and mental aspect. So a lot of us sacrifice what we think is not important for what we think is. And by the time we get there, just as you said, you know, by the time we start feeling the impact of the choices that we've made, for some people it's really too late. In my own case, I don't know why I'm alive, to be very honest, because when I was taken to the hospital, what the doctor screamed was like, she should have been dead. There's no way she should be alive, you know. So when I came to, I remember them, you know, consistently checking me for my cognitive skills, which were okay. And they wanted to be sure that I wasn't a vegetable, you know, and that my limbs were working, which were working. So if it was just my memory loss, what the doctor said was that then that is good. You know, so we had people who just slump and don't wake up. Yeah. So those are the things I'm trying to really, really prevent. So it's not just about being successful. And another thing I try to address in the book is it's not just about being successful, it's about, are you thriving holistically? Are you successful at work, but yet you're suffering in different aspects of your life? If that is it, then you're not really successful. You know, so success is not one-dimensional. Success shouldn't be one-dimensional. Success should be holistic, and that is where thriving comes in.
Kris, I want to say thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And more importantly, thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Very, 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 very important.
Thank you for having me.